You are back tuned into the underground. My name is Mbaya and I go by the Doctor. If you have read the title to this video, this is going to be me demonstrating a full haircut, which will be a drop fade using only Tpob tools. Going to be, of course, showcasing the Demon, the Skull Shaver, and of course I will be using the Slime 2 Clipper and the Ghost X. But before I get into all of that, while I'm waiting on my client to arrive, I'm going to go ahead and get myself first because your boy is looking really rough underneath this hat. And with that being said, what I'll do is cut myself down with a 1.5, and I'm going to go ahead and taper myself. I won't do a lineup because I just don't have enough time. I'm sorry, y'all. It ends up being this way a lot. For those of you who stay tuned with my, for example, TikTok lives or IG lives, I usually cut my hair down and line it up with a taper. As I go live, I always showcase how to go about, doing a self-cut. But if you're not familiar, you should stay tuned and catch me while I do those live videos. They're very helpful. And for those of you who do want to cut your own hair, trust me, I go in depth with the self-cuts on the live, exclusively on the live. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and just, show you what I do with cutting my hair down and doing the taper. I'm going to do like a burst taper style on myself. But with that being said, definitely leave a comment below. Do you want me to do more self-cut videos? Because I've been planning on doing that and, see how it goes. Because I know some of you definitely don't want to go to the barbershop anymore. You just want to have yourself be able to be skilled enough to the point where you can cut your own hair. So, that's where I come in. For those of you who do know, I'm not a big fan of cutting my own hair, but I'm just going to set up my area where I do this whole self-cut thing at and get the lighting on point. Make sure I have all the tools that I need. I will be using the Slime 2 to cut my hair down, of course. I will be using the Slime 2 Tpob slime guards. So these things do have a single magnet on them. And if you haven't gotten these guards at all, try them out, you need to get your hands on these things. Give them a chance. They are probably one of the most quality guards on the market. Slept on for sure. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you better act like you know and get on board. Definitely inexpensive, and if they are expensive to some of you, they are really only priced at $22.99. You can't beat that. And I am definitely still on with the Tpob giveaway, yo. It's not cap. I'm still on with that, so stay tuned. Okay, y'all, so listen. Tpob has some of the most affordable tools on the market, and they definitely are quality. They do awesome work. I've been using these for some time, and like I said, I'm planning on giving these away really soon. But with that being said, definitely I need y'all to see what I'm about to do with this. I wish I had better lighting today, but it's a very dark and gloomy day out here in Michigan, so I'm not gonna have the best lighting. You won't be able to see exactly what I'm doing, but I'm only doing this because I'm trying to prep myself to eventually get back to what I promised y'all, which I didn't follow through with, is doing self-cuts. I know you saw me use the Precision Saber on myself, and I didn't follow through with the lineup that I was supposed to do because of time. And time is something that is very essential for me, but it's difficult to make time for myself and these haircuts. So just check me out. I'm using the 1.5, and these are the magnetic guards from Tpob, of course. So I'm not using the ones that came with the Slime 2 because I just prefer magnetic guards. But yeah, if that's disappointing to some of y'all, I'm sorry, but I will be using these on the drop fade that I will be doing next, but I'm gonna go ahead and speed through this haircut, y'all, just so I can be able to get this done fast and efficient versus me talking to y'all and talking about how this. Okay, y'all, so I pretty much just cut my hair down to a 1.5 on the top, and along the edge I brought it down to a 1. But I'm gonna go ahead and stop this right now because it's a little too dark today for me to be even attempting to taper myself down. I think cutting it down is more than enough. It's enough just to tame the hair, and the rest of this will be to be continued. I promise y'all, I really promise that I will get back to this haircut. Okay, so there's a few things about this video. Of course, I will be doing a drop fade, and not only will I be demonstrating a drop fade, I really want to showcase the TPOB lineup that I have to make sure that those who doubt TPOB know what's really going on. The quality that it produces is definitely one to not pass on. The trimmers are on point, the shaver on point, the clippers on point. They have a variety of many different things to offer when it comes to motors. For example, you know, what kind of quality motor you're looking for, whether it's a digital motor, you know, or just a rotary. And with the Slime 2 clipper, look at this thing. Definitely looks good. Has a 5-click system, and this thing is definitely worth it. It has a very soft cut, but it's definitely efficient enough to where it will do the job. You won't have to fight. You will make sure that everything in sight is cut properly. And the handle on this thing, like when you have your hand on it, the ergonomics of it is cool. It's perfect. It's lightweight, and it does the job. So I am cutting the top down with a number 2, and this is a Slime 2 magnetic guard, of course. I'm not using the guard system that came with the clipper itself. It has a 0.5 and a 1, a 1.5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 guard that came with it. They aren't bad guards. I just would rather use the magnet guards because I'm spoiled with that nowadays. And by the way, I'm using the number 2 guard with the clipper lever all the way open, just kind of easing my way in through the hair, feeding those teeth right through it, making sure that I don't do any patching or, you know, rush job. When you rush into trying to cut the hair down really low fast, you tend to do a bad job. So keep in mind when cutting the hair down, depending on the length, ease your way through it by having the clipper lever all the way open and slowly close it. And now I'm going to go ahead and create a guideline using the clipper lever all the way open, no guard, just making sure that I create this base, which will pretty much help me have some room to work. And this is a safe way of starting the fade, and you don't have to always start with the bald guideline. You can slowly work your way to bald. So now that I've removed most of that bulk and created a half pretty much with no guard, I'm going to go ahead and get my Ghost X and create a bald guideline. Now this Ghost X, I did, of course, 0 gap. I had to adjust. It didn't come out of the box hitting really tight or getting close like I wanted to, so I did have to mess around with this thing. And it's very simple to adjust for those of you who have purchased this and had a hard time cutting smooth or cutting really low and close. You just have to adjust this thing. You have to, of course, move that cutter blade up just a little bit so it can meet up with that guide blade. That fixed blade is what I'm talking about. I'm also keeping this very safe by not going straight at the guideline by putting a harsh aggressive line in there. I'm just kind of going under with that cutter blade going first instead of that guide fixed blade, you know, going in first. That usually leaves a very harsh line that may be a little bit difficult for some of you to remove, and this is a safer way. So feed the hair through by going in with the guide blade flat. And when I say flat, it doesn't necessarily have to be completely flat. You have to just kind of scoop or wreck at this, you know what I mean? Then the cutter blade going up into the hair will have a smoother, softer guideline created so that you don't have a harsh line stuck there. So I have removed pretty much all the hair as much as I can. And immediately right after everything's been balled out with the trimmer, I always recommend you use the shaver right after. So I'm gonna go in with my Skull foil shaver and start to, of course, get any stubble that has been left behind. I'm going to avoid getting in that nape area. I'm just gonna kind of get on the outer part of that nape, and I'm slightly just getting right at that occipital bone. I'm not really going at that nape area. You have to avoid that on some people. And when I say you have to avoid that area, it's very sensitive. That's equivalent to that skin that wraps around the entire neck all the way down below that jawline. It's very sensitive, and for him, in his case, he does react really bad to the shaver. And there's times when we do use it in certain areas, just like I demonstrated on the sides, especially in the cheek area, you know what I'm saying? It works just fine. And I'm using the Demon to just kind of get what I wasn't able to touch as far as the area below that occipital bone, which is that nape. I couldn't touch that area with the Skull shaver, so I just kind of went in with the Demon. The Demon came out of the box snapping, you know what I'm saying? Just angry, you know what I mean? Like ready to just eat up and take all that hair out. So if you don't know about that Demon, y'all need to definitely get on that, get familiar. That thing comes ready out the box. Anyway, you will see more of the Demon later on, especially when it comes down to the lineup, so stay tuned for that. Watch this video all the way through. It is kind of lengthy, but as you can see, I'm going back in with the number 2 guard with the clipper lever all the way open. I'm only creating guidelines right now, just a FYI. I'm only creating guidelines. There is not going to be any of that open completely, close halfway, and close completely. No, I'm going to create the guidelines first. Then I will do all that blending and lever technique and all that stuff I will demonstrate later. So next I'm going to go in with the 1.5, which of course, same thing. Clipper lever all the way open. And I have my mans over here dying laughing. We're talking a bunch of nonsense, so don't mind. This is my guy. He is one of my huge, long time supporter. He's been definitely rocking with the kid for a very long time, and I appreciate him. And he is always down for content, so I told him I'll be letting the camera run. Just do your thing, don't mind. You don't got to be all stiff today. I'm trying not to be always having my model super stiff. I know y'all want to see quality when it comes down to the demonstration or the tutorials, but I'm trying to have this just be very organic. And this was just one day in the week where I decided that I was going to go ahead and shoot some content with some TPOB stuff. And hey, here we go. But I have the 1 guard on now, same deal, clipper lever all the way open. And I'm softening this thing up just a little bit by making sure that I follow through with the steps that I have explained. Going to create the guidelines, then I'm going to go ahead and start to, of course, use the close and close halfway technique. And remember, you don't have to always do it the same way that I am explaining. I just want you to apply some of these things that I'm sharing to your already established technique, you know? So definitely make sure you don't take everything verbatim. And I have moved over to my 0.5 now. I'm doing the same thing, clipper lever all the way open. Then of course I will start to set myself up for success, making sure that when achieving this blurry blend, everything's easily set up for the open, close halfway, and close completely technique. You know what I'm saying? So as you can see, I have lost the guard already, and I'm starting to create another guideline. I know there's a lot of guidelines going on here, but if you want to achieve blurry blends, you need to follow these steps. Take your time about it. Do not rush. Make sure you're following through with the steps, okay? So I am, of course, creating my guideline with no guard. Then I close to soften it up a little bit, and I close completely. So now that we're getting into the blending and making sure that we close out all of these guidelines into a actual transition and fade, you have to use your judgment. If you are not listening to what I'm telling you right now, is don't take everything that I'm saying verbatim. Make sure you're improvising, because haircutting and creating good haircuts is based on your judgment. You need to look at what you're doing and cut according. But like I say, take some of this, apply it to what you already have established. But as you can see, I'm starting to create a blend, and I'm doing the same thing I just did on the left side of the head on the right. And I'm going to, of course, jump back over to a guard in just a moment to make sure that as we go further into that fade, we're making sure to transition over with the appropriate guards for the particular level. This is why we set guidelines. So I set my guidelines by going up, then I blend down. Okay, you got to work your way up, down, then check your work by going back in. Simple as that, if that makes any sense. So go up, create your guidelines, come back down and blend down, then you go back in to make sure that you pretty much polish up everything that you missed. It's as simple as that. That's what you call checking your work. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna go ahead and jump back over to the 0.5, and now we're gonna start working on closing and open technique. So remember, improvise, work that lever. When you open the lever, it means you want to cut less hair. When you close the lever slowly, bit by bit, you want to cut more hair based on the section that you're working on. So we're in the 1 and 0.5 section. So right now, you know, we're just pretty much softening that up, working our way into the fade. And as you can see, this clipper is definitely a smooth blend. It definitely helps you achieve a really nice soft. But you know, this is heavy duty now. It will do some heavy duty work, surprisingly. Don't get it twisted. The RPMs on this thing are definitely promising. At first, when I first started using this thing, I used to think like, oh, it might just, you know, not do this. It might not do that. Nah, don't doubt this Slime 2. The Slime 2 is a very inexpensive clipper. It comes out of the box, definitely performing. You don't even have to necessarily adjust the blade set that comes on this thing. It's definitely 7,200 RPM, so it's nice and strong. It's powerful enough to where it can remove bulk. It can go into some pretty thick hair, no problem. So, you know, just keep that in mind. But definitely, you know, make sure that you're staying focused on cutting style is everything. How you choose to perform is based on the tools that you are purchasing. And this thing comes at $59.95 with tax on top of that, which is definitely not bad at all, you know. And this one in particular, I scored by getting this thing on sale. So, you know, definitely can't go wrong with that, you know. I found it at probably like some $30, you know, and I had to throw that in the cart real quick and have it, you know, because definitely TPOB, if you haven't heard about them, they're definitely bringing the heat. So be sure to start looking into this brand. And for the most part, I'm talking to my beginner barbers, veterans as well that have been in this for a long time, stylists whatsoever. These tools are quality. Don't believe all the nonsense when it comes to like the conversation on, oh, those are cheap quality, they're poorly made, they're cool, you know, they're cool all the way up until, you know, you use it like this and that. Yeah, sure. Look, depending on how much you're spending, because TPOB has different tiers. They have different tiers of tools that will, of course, give you your $30 mark items, your $100, you know. You even may find something for 70, you know what I'm saying? But like, what I'm saying is you need to make sure you know what you're using these things for, especially when it comes to commercial spaces. Are you seeing 10 people a day? How many days in a week are you working? How many people are coming through? That is going to determine your wear and tear on your tools. So if you're definitely seeing some 30 heads a day, I recommend you spend over $100 on tools, $200 even. You know what I'm saying? Because you're seeing a lot of people and you're going to need quality. That's why all of these tools die out on people, because they're not choosing the appropriate tools for what they do. How you work will always affect your tools. If you're aggressive with your tools, you know, as in throwing them around, not really treating them gently, this and that, you know, may just have you spending way too much money trying to keep up with new tools. Can get expensive. And what I mean is breaking them, not taking care of your things, or just trying to even keep up with the newest and hottest tool can get really ridiculously expensive. So watch how you're treating your items. Seriously, y'all. Believe me, some of these things nowadays cost entirely way too much. It's one thing to chip a blade set or something like that, you know, a tooth on the blade and replacing it, right? Versus you drop something, or you are just throwing something around, like I said earlier, and it breaks, so you're forced to buying something new. That gets pricey. So treat these things like they are your livelihood. Don't just be abusing stuff, okay? That's why I recommend metal bodies for some of you who can afford something that's a little bit more pricier, on the 150 to, you know, maybe possibly $300 almost for a clipper or a trimmer, right? You can spend good money on a metal body or metal housing, and it will last you some time, you know, especially if you have butterfingers, for example. And I know some people complain about certain tools are slippery, this and that. I feel like at this point we are just way too picky. There's a lot of tools back in the day that I used to use, like the Wall Senior, super slippery clipper, as well as that Master from Andis was super slippery, really slick. I mean, nowadays we have some tools that come with certain grips on them. Some tools actually just have spare parts that you can buy grips, for example, and just place them on the clipper or the trimmer. You know what I mean? Like, some of them are designed ergonomically to just be held properly in your hand. But, you know, it's just all about you taking care of your things and being careful. So as you can see, this fade is pretty much done. It's established. That is how you do a fade using Tpob tools. And now we're going to go ahead and get into this lineup. I'm going to comb out as much as I can out of the front part of that hair, and I'm going to go in with my Demon trimmer, pretty much establishing a guideline starting from the middle, working my way out into the vertical bars, making sure everything is symmetrical evenly on the left side and the right side. And in this shot, I am working my way into that vertical bar out into the left side of his head and pretty much manipulating as much as I can. I have cut this and shaped it up to where it is prepped for a perfect lineup. And some people may say this hair is definitely easy to cut. No, it is not. There's no such thing as an easy texture to work on when it comes to cutting hair. Every texture is definitely difficult and challenging in its own unique special way, because whatever it is that you have in front of you is a canvas. There's no such thing as an easy lineup, an easy haircut. Sure, you may move a little bit faster on some people, but it's all equally difficult, because just know, if you can see me, of course, in this video, I'm executing this fairly easy, right? This may be difficult to somebody else, but This is why I post these videos. So like I say, I start my lineup in the middle, work my way out into the vertical bars. I get the vertical bars, then I work on the C cup. And you can improvise this and do it a completely different way. But this is a way that I find it easy for me to execute the C cup, especially on drop fades. I love doing drop fades. This might be my favorite haircut to do. It's a signature haircut that I used to do years ago, and it's funny to me that it is a popular haircut to do now. I used to get clowned before. People used to say, it looks off. It looks like there's something wrong that you did. Why is that line still there? Which is so ridiculous to me. But it's the simple fact that I manipulate the line to look enhanced and as if it's a 3D lineup. So that definitely used to kind of go over people's heads, but it takes people a while to come around to something that is not norm. And the C cup on a fade is nothing new. It's just something that's not very familiar with people. Always is taboo. And I used to get clowned for this haircut. Can you believe that? And I've gotten really good at it over the years, especially with how I place in that lineup. But yeah, this haircut's pretty much a wrap. At this point, I am just doing detail work. As I said earlier, most of all of this is just to demonstrate that the TPOB line can definitely get a haircut done properly. There's way better tools that TPOB produces, of course, other than the ones that I am demonstrating with, because the more money you spend, the better off you are. These are not bad tools. These are just the ones that are more accessible and affordable, especially, like I said before, for my beginners. Make sure you're taking your time, following through with the steps. Don't rush nothing. Make sure you're executing each step properly. That way you are producing quality. Make sure your clients or customers are returning for quality work. Not garbage, not nonsense. Don't play in people's face or head. Make sure that they're getting exactly what you are putting effort into, as you should. Okay? Otherwise, some people don't care about the quality and they'll come back regardless if you're doing nonsense. So do your thing, get money, do what you do. I'm not knocking your grind. I'm not knocking your skill, your technique. I'm just trying to help you achieve something faster, better, to make sure you have clients for life, because your livelihood is determined based on your performance. How you produce your work is what will determine whether people will rock with you or not. Believe me or not, that is the truth. There's some people charging really cheap that are super talented and they are always booked. That works for them. There's some people that are charging super high and they are definitely getting money, making sure their people are coming back, making sure they're feeling safe. Now, the thing is, you can be super cheap producing quality and, technically speaking, cheating yourself and being gaslighted into other people thinking you are not worth more money. So think about what you're doing. Make sure that you are able to work with that. Otherwise, do what you do still. Don't listen to me. I'm just saying my piece on how I see people being successful. And if you're charging way high, people probably feel secure with you. Okay, and they want to pay for more, because there's sometimes, in some cases, like how I say, somebody can produce quality work but charges cheap. They may lack in some areas. This is the reason for why they charge cheap. They keep a consistent flow charging cheap, but they're never punctual. They're never on time. They're probably having people sitting around at the shop, or they're having people tracking them down, trying to hunt them down to see where they are. Or they just might be a really dirty barber giving out bums. But some people don't care. They pay for less. They know what they signed up for. That's why I'm just saying, build a good rapport. Build a good relationship with your clients. Don't be just doing whatever. These people are your foundation, okay? They support you, so you should definitely put effort into funding and making sure your business is functioning. Put the money back into the business. Keep the newest, dopest tools. Keep tools that actually work for you. And anyway, I'm not going to rant too much, you know what I'm saying? Because I was going to get into the whole how people that charge more definitely, cover most ends, because you can't be charging a whole lot and being on BS, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is my guy, you know, always coming through, my homie Gabe. He is the man. He definitely always gets busy with me on the push-ups and dips. Lately is what we have been doing is 20 to 25 reps for both and 25 reps of dips. Sounds overkill. I know some of you may talk mess about the form, this and that, whatever. Try and do 25 dips straight and let me know how that goes for you, all right? There's a lot of y'all out here out of shape talking like y'all really about that. So please, if you can't do a basic dip, you know, and we're doing somewhat of half reps, we're not really doing like full range, you know, whatever. And we're doing shorties pretty much when it comes to the push-ups. So try the shorties out, then talk to me about doing 25 straight. So I'll catch y'all on the next one. I hope y'all found this video helpful.